I'm Naomi. I was born in the Caribbean island, St. Lucia. Lovely place, crazy people. Yeah, I came here in the year 2000, and I've been here since.
And you're a trans female, is that correct?
Yes, I am trans female, M2F. I identify as she and her.
So you've gone through the transition process.
Yeah, yeah,
Did that happen in Canada?
yes.
Yes. And
Montreal,
and Montreal. And when did that happen?
almost 10 years ago.
At what point did you recognize that you did not identify as a male? At what age?
I would say as early as 4 years old. I just saw the stereotypical boyish behavior. And I'm like, this is too weird. It's just too barbaric. That's not for me. I'm like, I want to be like my sister and I want to be like my mother. I want to be like all the nurturing females.
How did your family respond?
Well, they never quite responded because I never came out as trans. I never even came out as gay to them. I was just being like my normal self. I just lived my entire life this way. I never really transitioned and said to family like, "Hey, this is who I am." They just went along with it, like knowing all along this is me.
So you're black, obviously,
Yeah, yeah.
and a trans female.
Mhm.
What has that experience been like for you
In
being
Canada,
in Canada?
well, it's been interesting. It's been challenging. It has its challenges, and it has its ups and downs. But I know a lot of other trans people of color have experienced a lot of bias, racism, transphobia, stigma, all of that kind of stuff. I do get those, but I don't get it on a huge level. Let me explain to you why. I will explain to you exactly why. I am 6 feet 2. So my height alone intimidates a lot of people. And the fact that I have this dark skin color makes people be like, oh, she looks like she could beat me up. So you see, I do not get a lot of the the attacks and the abuse that the stereotypical trans female gets. So I hear a lot of stories where those girls say, well, this guy picked on me and those people picked on me and they bullied me and they picked, it doesn't happen to me because I think it's honestly because of my stature. No.
Are you experiencing microaggressions or anything like that?
I'm experiencing the other aggressions. Basically, it's just people who are too scared to meet me face to face and confront me in my face. But it's like usually it's just the cyberbullying, the regular, typical go behind the computer and
Of
fight,
course.
you know?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Do
yeah.
you identify as gay?
No, I don't identify as gay. And if there was an option for me to identify not as trans, I would actually, because I see myself as a heterosexual female. The only reason I classify myself as trans is it's kind of like a warning label. Just like I just have to give this warning to the heterosexual populace to let them know this is who I am. So that way they don't get too comfortable and be like, later on, say, how dare you? You didn't tell me you were trans, you know? So I only identify as trans to let people know that please don't beat me up. Please don't try and kill me. Please don't stab me. So I put that out there right away, telling them, get comfortable with me being trans.
It's really for safety
That's correct.
and
Yeah.
to try to have a response from the public that isn't hostile or
Yes.
dangerous, really.
Yes. Yes.
Now, in terms of dating, what is it
Mhm.
like for you as a trans person?
Well, it is impossible just because, again, the men are very intimidated. Um, the black thing comes into play where the majority of men see me and they just feel like, oh, you big, you black, that means you're going to dominate me. And I like that because they see it as a sexual fetish right away. And I am naturally dominant, so men see that as like, oh, please be rough to me, do things to me. So, for example, when I tell men that I have a vagina, the majority of them get upset and they say things like, too bad you got rid of what you had because I really want to play with it. So for me, having a vagina, the majority of them have always said to me, well, why you call yourself trans? Don't call yourself trans because you're taking out that fetish out of the equation for them. So for them, they want me to be a sexual fetish, the toy, the plaything. Because a new trend when you get a lot of girls becoming sex workers and they get the money from it and it elevates their ego and they go like, you know what? I could do this. And so they do not even see themselves as transgender. They just see themselves as a sexual object to satisfy that man. So they just keep on getting the money, the monetary part. They love that because I see myself as a social experience. A lot of the time, I use myself as my own scientific experience and experiment. And I'm like, I go out and I let people know this is me, this is who I am. What do you think? So I get like polls and surveys from people and I say like, oh, I see what people like, what they don't like. And the majority of the time, it always becomes biblical where people say like, you do not fit in my society. You're something else. I don't believe you exist. You're not real. I'm not real to a lot of people. You see me right now. You know I'm real. But the majority of straight men and heterosexual men, I am their fetish for nightfall. The moment it gets dark, they come to see a girl like me. They use a girl like me and they go back to living their normal lives. So if they were to see me in public with their normal life, they close their eyes or they walk away or they look away. They don't want to have any kind of eye contact with us because we don't exist. We're not real to them. We're supposed to only exist for their sexual fetish. And it's not just me, it's a lot of transgender women.
How do you respond to them?
I've had instances where I reprimand somebody for doing all of this thing where making me feel uncomfortable like an object. And they will say something to me like in defense, they will say, okay, bro, okay, dude, okay, whatever, dude, bro, you know? Because they already feel like they already feel emasculated. I don't know what age it starts. Whatever age that those guys start and they identify the world wide web of porn, once they see that, they change. It just makes them be like, oh, I like that. I would like to experience that. And it sticks in the brain.
Do you think about safety? There's the theory of the geography of fear, where
Yeah.
women have to be uh, aware of where they put their drink down, or don't
Mm.
walk behind the van, or
Yeah.
check the elevator when you get in. Like we're
Oh, yes.
always aware of our safety and any potential
Yeah.
threat. Have you experienced that? What was it like for you before you transitioned and after you transitioned in terms of how you navigate the world in safety?
Well, not at all. Again, it's just because of my stature, my height. It makes people afraid of me. And the fact that I do not indulge in a lot of the things regular people do. So, for example, I don't drink. I don't
Ah,
drink at all. So when I go to the bars and the clubs, all my I call them my gaybies, all my gay babies, they are always around me. I'm always protecting them. I'm always the mama. I'm like the mama figure for most of them, and they like, I'm the one who open their eyes sometimes and tell them, "Hey, cover your drink or take your drink with you or something like that."
ah,
No, so I'm always like that safety net, that extra protective, nurturing mama for them, for the community. But for me, I'm just too much aware of how messed up the world is. So I'm always constantly on a state of paranoia.
have you felt accepted within the community? Like what's it been like?
I wouldn't quite say accepted. I would use the word tolerated. So the community, most of them could tolerate me. I'm not. There's a lot of racism in our community. So there's a lot of white gays who cannot stand my guts. There's a lot of black girls who just don't understand me because it's a lot. There's a lot, but there's a lot of racism.
Do you feel like that's changing within the last couple of years?
Absolutely not. It's getting. It's as if it's not nothing's happening. It's just like whenever you see, for example, Pride. Look at Pride parades, the floats and all that kind of stuff. It's just very political agenda and all that kind of stuff. And there's a majority of people you see are all white. So when you see blacks in Pride, it's kind of shocking and surprising. So there was,
Really?
yeah, it's like not you don't get a lot of black people in Pride. I guess it's because of the populace also because of we have a higher population of white people than blacks.
For sure.
But also there is this thing where a lot of black people do believe that it's there's a lot of black people who are still who are queer and they're gay, but they're not out. And a lot of people are like with parades, they're like, I could be on TV, my family could see me, people could see me. I don't want to I don't want people to pick on me. We see a lot of this in London, Ontario. So for me, I'm like, I don't have any family here. I'm by myself. I don't have if somebody wants to judge me, they can. I don't care. I'm not it doesn't affect me, but the majority of persons in the black community are very, very afraid of what the other blacks would say
Oh,
and how they would see them. It's like, also because we go back to the point where a lot of blacks have they believe they have this, they believe they are born with an inferior complex, but they have a superior complex, but they use it as if saying, you see something called gay is a white man's disease. You how dare you become gay? You're a black strong man. You need to be a king. So the black community always sees our black people as like lift them up. You have to bring them up. So when you say I identify as queer and I'm talking and I'm bending and I'm curving, the black community just gets, not to say homophobic, but just disappointed that another one of their people have fallen down to this white person's disease.
within some communities within the black culture,
Yes.
it's almost like a white thing and a white disease. Is that how it's being
Yeah, it's
portrayed?
like they believe homosexuality was invented by white men, and they don't believe that it's something black people should carry. For example, maybe in transgender, it confuses them even more. Now they're like, okay, this one has really fall off the boat because they're like, why do you speak so good English? Why aren't you speaking like us? Why are you talking like the white man? Why are you looking like you around white people too much? Then you are white. You're not one of us anymore.
So it's this is so really there's segments of race, racism,
Yes,
classism.
yes,
Um, why are you speaking white?
yeah,
What does that even mean?
yeah,
That is
yeah,
so fascinating.
yes. And it's a lot. It's a lot. And there's a lot of young black queer kids who are right. They're trying to come out, but they cannot just because of the fear of that leather belt that they will receive from the parents. And you see, a lot of us cannot just go out and say to our parents, hey, I'm gay, because guess what? They'll kick you out. They'll be like, you're not part of our family. You are weak. You cannot represent the family. How could you be something that is so against the Bible and against God? So a lot of the times the parents just say, I cannot deal with you, I cannot cope with you, I don't know how to, so therefore I'm kicking you out. Now, a lot of people don't even know the majority of parents who kick their children out is because the parents themselves are being bullied by other parents. So you still have this whole bullying system that continues through adulthood, through death. So parents, mothers and fathers, are just afraid to show the next door neighbor parents that I have a gay child because they will be picked on as parents. Yes, it happened to me because coming from the Caribbean, St. Lucia, you cannot express your well now it's changing, now it's different, there's many homosexuals in my country, but before in my time you couldn't even walk on the road with a sway because you would be attacked. The boys would beat you up, the community would laugh at you, and you'd feel like, oh, I cannot be this person. I have to try and be straight, but I don't like girls. I like boys, but I cannot show it. So then we go behind closed doors when everyone is not looking, and then we engage in our little homosexual acts and stuff. And but if the moment anyone finds out, it is still a penalty that is, you could go to prison. People still, it's people still kill each other. Just, well, somebody who doesn't understand you will just kill you because you're gay. But it's just because they don't, they have confidence in the law. The legal system kind of backs them up.
Employment for the trans population has consistently been a problem.
It is.
Um, Finding employment, keeping the employment, that sort of thing. What has
Yeah.
it been like for you?
Same thing. Absolutely same thing. The only way I could kind of employ myself is to get persons who have no problem with having a transgender person in the team. When I worked at a few different agencies, government agencies like call centers and just all that kind of stuff. And when I when I did come out, not come out, but I did tell people, hey, I'm transgender. Some of the management were like, can you please keep that to yourself? Don't tell other people. They don't need to know. But I'm like, but that is me. I cannot live and work in your office and just keep this hidden. I'm like, no. There was another transgender girl that I recognized, and I was so happy to see her. And I'm like, hey girl! And everyone looked at me like, sit down. Do not bring attention to yourself. And the girl came to me on lunch break and she said to me, Naomi, I don't want people in this office to know I'm transgender. I'm like, why? Why shouldn't you not show it off, She's like, no, it's too conservative and I just don't want to give people the wrong impression. So but for me, I was like, okay, I respect that. But for me, I'm transgender. Everybody knows. I even put it in my little corner. I was having the rainbow little stickers and everything. People knew when they came around me, I was the loud, crazy one. And they loved it. But a lot of businesses cannot handle transgender people just because of the amount of sexual abuse that we face in those workplaces. Who do you complain to? And especially if you're a new recruit, you just been hired to this business. This man who's harassing you has been in the business for 10, 20 years. So you making complaints on him, the company sees it like, you think we're going to hire one of our seniors and you just came in, you brand new. They're like, screw you, we're not going to do anything.
Have you experienced that in the
Oh,
workplace?
yes. Yeah. Yeah. Because and that's how they get to keep the jobs. It's not anything like, it's not to the level like a Harvey Weinstein or anything like that, but there are a lot of guys out there who are used to just nothing to say like transphobic or attacking trans women. This is just women in general. Cisgender women. They get abused from those men, but nobody really makes a big fuss about it because I'm all about educating people and telling people, please do not assume that all trans girls are prostitutes and sex workers. Do not assume that. So even if we have trans girls with bachelor degrees, honorary degrees, and all that big degrees, men will still find them just to harass them, to be like, oh, so I heard you were tranny. Or I heard, oh, they will find you. They do that, especially with social media. For example, Instagram. And I've said that to a lot of the trans girls on Instagram. Many trans girls. Quit tagging or quit hashtagging the term transsexual and tranny because it is an invitation for horny men to find them.
But I am curious what the transition process was like for you when you went to Montreal.
Very quick surgery. It took about 2 hours. A mental assessment that takes about at least a year or two, so that the doctors can actually prove that you are of a state, a good mental state, like you're right in mind. Was at the time it was CAMH, Center for Mental Health and Addiction, and I went to them and I said to them, I want this. Can you give me a date? And they said, yes, we could give you a date. You just have to go through your doctor, go through your psychologist, talk to them and everything. Now, in that time, my time, it was you had to go through all those people. Right now, it's not that hard. It's easier. The process is faster. The mental part didn't quite hit me to say like I regret. There was a lot of pain and healing and if you're not careful you could get really bad infections, but there was a lot of healing time and everything too. And when I saw it I was just like, you know what, I like it. And it started, the swollenness started going down. Don't have intercourse until it's 4 months. Then what they do is they give you a set of dilators. Dilators are things that are shaped like dildos, but
Oh,
they come in different sizes, and you have to use them on the vagina for the rest of your life. So if you do not use the dilators, the vagina will actually close. And
okay.
it's kind of like if you have a pierced air and you don't keep putting earrings in the air, the hole will close. Yeah. So same thing for us. Now, this surgery, once we get a vagina, it cannot be repaired. It's done. Like if there's no more going in and fixing it, that's it. So if we lose depth, we're done. So if this is if this is the amount you could take, like half of this,
Mhm.
if this is the depth, if you do not dilate, this will happen. So then your depth will only be this much. Don't dilate, it gets down to this much. So you'll not even be able to have proper penetration. So an actual regular size penis would not be able to penetrate this because it's
So you
closing.
have to dilate on a regular basis
Yes,
because
you
there's
have to.
no going back. They can't. If you lose
No,
depth, they can. You
that's
can't go
correct.
back and get
That's
that
correct.
back.
Yeah, that's correct. So somebody like me, I kind of have to say like, I have to have sex, doctor's orders. What? They don't get it, but I'm like, yeah, you have to explain to them because it
Show you
will
the
actually.
prescription.
Yes, yes. And the one thing is, we hate dilating. We hate. I could promise you, there's not one transgender girl who enjoys dilating with foreign hard objects. It is annoying. It is time consuming. It makes we feel lazy. If we have intercourse with a man, that counts as dilating.
Is dilating painful? And how often would you need to dilate?
Dilating is painful only after the surgery, like because the body's that area down there is still sensitive.
Mhm.
But dilating after that, it just becomes annoying. Dilation, according to the paperwork that most of us get, is like just dilate. It would be at least I would say twice a week. Twice a week. So if you don't continue the practice, it just closes. So you will lose depth.
Back when you did it, you had to get a prescription from a doctor.
Yeah.
Do you still need the prescription?
Yes.
You do. Okay, so you still
Yes.
need the prescription.
And so the prescription part, when you first go on it, I believe we were me, for example, I was on 3 different prescriptions. I was on I believe it was Superfat. Superfat is kind of like a nasal spray. You put it in the nostril and it goes to the whatever gland and it stops testosterone from happening. And then we were given progesterone, which was like a little circular pill. We had to swallow that. It's very bitter and tastes nasty. And then we had estrogen, which is called estrus or estradiol. But the estrus is the one basically for giving you the breasts, so your
Okay.
breasts grow naturally. and then the progesterone does help with the breast too. But once you have the surgery, you could go off either one or two of the medications. For me, I picked two to go off of. So I got off of Superfact right away. I didn't need it because the body doesn't have testicles. And then you go on to progesterone, and then after taking the progesterone, then you stop taking the progesterone, and you just take the estrus
So
for the
all
rest of your life.
three of these medications are taken before the surgery.
That's correct.
How long do you have to take them before the surgery?
As long as you can, as long as because if you don't take them, you tend to show a little bit masculine features. But
Okay.
those medication, the three of them, makes your hair starts to thin out, your skin gets smoother, you start getting the shapes and the curves of the female, and a lot of people do say things like, "Well, I self-medicate," and which means they could get their own version of estrogen or whatever.
Black market?
I don't know. Sometimes, to be honest, not really quite black market, but it's about, to be honest, a lot of them use birth control pills, which they believe birth control has estrogen factors in it. So
Oh,
you have a lot of trans girls saying, "I'm on hormones," and they take birth control, which is terrible. That's not it. It does have some estrogen benefits, but it doesn't quite give you the real results.
in terms of financing the
Mhm.
prescriptions, the surgery, is
Yeah.
it is it the government that covers
So,
that, or
okay, so the medication part, it is not covered unless you are on Ontario Works. So if you are on Ontario Works, then you have a drug benefit card that will give you that opportunity to get those medication prescription. Some cases I know of girls who will cover half the cost, and then the Ontario Works will cover the other half. Some Ontario Works just covers the full price of and those are expensive pills. So the pills, so for example, the estrogen alone is about $50, depending on the different milliliters, millimil you take in. So you could get maybe 90 pills for $50.
and that's just one of those prescriptions.
Yeah, and it continues climbing. And then you have progesterone. Progesterone could cost 40 upwards to $80. And
Wow.
superfact could be 60 and up. So all three medications is about a few $100s. The surgery could cost anywhere from 35 to $45,000 Canadian dollars.
Wow.
Um, that money we do not pay, so that is covered by OHIP. So Health Canada covers it.
That is wonderful.
Good. The Americans hate it because the Americans come to Canada to get the surgery too. So we do have transgender females from the US coming to Canada to get the surgery because it's cheaper, even if it costs the 45 to 50, so 30 to 45,000, it's cheaper than to do it in the US. The US is very much, it's a lot. Now, you could go to Thailand. A lot of girls go to Thailand and other countries to get that SRS, sexual reassignment surgery, which will cost them only close to 18, sometimes. So you get 15, 18, 20,000 the most.
That's much better for
Which
sure.
they're saving a lot of money.
Yeah.
But Canada wants you saying if you get your surgery abroad, we are not liable to doing any aftercare. So please get your surgery here.
Of
If you go to the US or anywhere else to get your surgery, that's your fault. If you get any kind of infection, we cannot help you. You risking
course.
that. You're risking it. It's a big
Yeah.
risk.
So there's the prescriptions ahead of time before the
Mhm.
surgery.
Yeah.
There's psychological evaluation.
Yeah.
The surgery is about 2 hours.
Yes.
Um, what's the pain like on a scale of
Pain.
1 to
Okay.
10?
So pain from 1 to 10, it is a foreign pain. It's a pain you've never felt in your life before. It's just, it does feel uncomfortable. It's not to say intense pain. One of the annoying things is your bladder. They give you the thing goes to the urethra. They push that cord up in your urethra to go to the bladder so that it could do the bladder release. That is painful
That's painful.
because when the urine is coming out, there's a lot of people who are probably urologists who will actually testify for this, because you don't have that muscle active. The muscle is not ready to push out the urine, so because you're not, it's not coming out from the the it's not coming out from the urethra yet. It's coming out from a catheter. So when the catheter is being drained from out of the urine, it hurts. It feels like somebody just punched you in your gut, like a
Ooh.
really, really hard punch. So that happens every time you pee or you have to empty out the catheter.
Is this
Because,
right after the surgery, or is this a
right,
permanent pain?
right after the
This is
surgery.
just right after.
Yeah,
So if you're thinking about going through this surgery and you don't feel this pain every time you urinate forever, this is a temporary thing.
it's temporary. And
Okay.
then once they put everything through, once they stitch up that little area, once they do that, and then they make the urine, the bladder come out now through the urethra, it burns. It does sting. It stings because you have to remember that your urethra has been cut in not just half, but literally cut because the penis at urethra line is now moved. So it's not long. It's so so it's shorter. Your peeing is faster. Males take a little while because it has to go through the pipe. The urine comes out through the pipe. But for females, it's flat. It's right away, like psh, like. But
So
yeah,
interesting.
yeah.
So
The
interesting.
anatomy is interesting. I like it. But
It really is.
the pain level is, it's on a scale from 1 to 10. It's about 10.
It's okay. So there, it's the
About,
just
yeah,
people know what to expect.
yeah, but it does get better because they do give you real serious medication like
Oh, good.
what's its name? I think it is oxycodone. Oxycodone.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's a strong one.
So they put you on that, and they put you on um, pills basically to just kind of numb the pain.
Help with pain management.
A lot of girls have said that after getting the pills, they get addicted to it, so they turn into drug addicts because they need the pain to go away. But for some people like me, I had it and I'm like, I didn't get addicted to anything. It was just like, get the pain away. So,
So this is one thing that if someone's considering getting this surgery to keep in mind that
yes,
addiction from these
addiction.
pills
That's correct.
is a possibility. So kind of
That's
just
correct.
watch that. Take the
Yes,
drugs as prescribed. Stop
yes,
taking them when they recommend.
that's right.
Be aware of your body and your tolerance and that sort of thing.
Yes, yes, yes. And a lot of people will not quite get it, but if you see a lot of transgender girls who are actually doing a lot of drugs, we don't know where it started. If they had the surgery, those are for the girls who had the surgery.
Yeah, they may have
Yeah.
started there with
But
the
yeah, but
drugs.
they be like,
Yeah,
well, even a lot of people, people in general, if they get any kind of heart surgery or anything, they could get addicted to the pills. Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah, that's been a huge problem for yeah.
Mhm. Mhm.
So how long did the healing process take?
It did take exactly 4 months.
Oh,
Like exactly as the doctor said, it would take about 4 months. It did. The sutures fall out, the stitches come out, and then you do your your sitz bath, douching with the water, medication and all that, saline. You have to make a lot of trips to Shoppers Drug Mart. Shoppers Drug Mart becomes your best friend after this surgery. It's just any place that has a pharmacy, you will be in that pharmacy almost every week because
really?
one thing we go through like crazy is lubrication. We go through the lube like crazy because to do the dilation, you need lubrication. You cannot just use Vaseline.
Okay.
There's medical grade lubricants that we have to use. And if we don't use it, we could cause infection.
Ah,
So And then sometimes we could get caretakers. We are assigned to caretakers who could actually come to our homes and treat us, or we go to their office. But it's something that has to continue until you finally heal properly. Um, yeah, it sounds like a lot. It is a lot, but
But clearly worth it. You're very
yes,
happy
it
that
is.
you went
It is.
through the change.
Oh yeah.
What advice would
What
you give to people who are considering going through this transition?
um don't believe everybody out there. It's not as everybody else makes it. We cannot get periods. We'll never be able to get menstrual cramps. We do not we do not naturally clean out. So
Ah,
a female's vagina naturally cleans
naturally
itself
cleaning.
out,
Yeah.
not us. We have to manually clean that out. So we have to do a lot of douching, um, a lot
Fascinating.
of saline, like different cleaning agents has to be up there because it's just a place with nothing because there's no organs. If it's just kind of like a this is it. It stops.
I
But
do.
there's no organ, and it just comes. Whatever you put in there will at some time come out.
Yeah.
But with genetic females, there's organs
Yeah.
because that's how babies are made. So
Yeah.
yeah,
That's good advice.
yeah.
Yeah.
But a lot of girls are under the impression that they wear a pad or tampons all the time because they believe that they have in a period. It's fake. It's false. We cannot bleed.
So this is interesting. So there are some that wear tampons and pads because they think that.
Yeah, they want to believe that they so female. They really want to believe they like very much. Even pre-op girls who have not had a vagina are still using pads, and they just put in the pads to. It's a mental thing to be like, I
It's
am
oh,
female.
that's fascinating.
Yes.
Have you ever had a conversation with a trans woman who does
Oh
that?
yeah. Oh yes. I've told her to cut it out, but she was
Yeah.
like, "This is my body, my choice," kind of thing. But yeah, but she really do believe, and what is disturbing is she spreads that to other people who don't quite get transgender people, so they
Oh,
believe that, oh, transgender people wear pads.
oh,
No,
okay.
no,
And
we
you're
we
like,
wear
girl,
pads
like,
only for the surgery. After the surgery, there will be a little bit of discharge, so a little bit of dry blood or something could come out. So
and
we
that's
wear
enough.
the pads at that point. After surgery, we wear pads after surgery, but beyond that, there's no blood.
Yeah, it won't be needed. Um, is there a trans community apart
there is
from the broader LGBTQ community?
there is a trans community, but they tend to be very much more like secret societies. You're not invited. Don't come. It's like
You're not invited, don't come.
that's kind of how it is. Like it feels like that. It's like a bunch of trans girls who are just they have their own little circles. But for the most part, they don't quite agree with each other. And let me tell you why. There's this war happening with transgender girls, a war against each other. And it's who's the prettiest, who passes more, who's like, so they don't like that. So if there is a transgender woman who has a lot of masculine features, she does not like the next feminine girl. She hates that girl
So
because
there's jealousy.
yes, a lot of that. And so because of that, you get no community because it's always that, oh, she thinks she's better than us.
She thinks she's cute.
Yes, yes, yes. Like, look at her with her perfect boyfriend and her perfect lifestyle.
Yes.
Like, yeah,
Yeah,
it's just as just same as heterosexual people. We do the
exactly.
same
Yeah.
thing.
Well, that sounds familiar.
Yeah, such a cutthroat community. I'm like, no, I'm in the same boat with you. I wear wigs. This is not my hair. Like, I still have to shave. We still wear makeup. You know,
Exactly.
we do that a lot. But there is that you'll not get it. You'll not quite get a community of trans girls just because of the cattiness. It's just immature cattiness. Just catty. It always boils down to the point where how come your selfies look like Kim Kardashian and mine looks like Sasquatch? You
Okay.
know? So they do feel that way and they're just
Oh,
jealous all the time and upset.
yeah.
So they don't support each other.
Yeah. So there's some division there.
Well, one thing I wanted to tell you,
Mhm.
not to be like, we do get orgasms. It still works. We do get sexual full orgasms.
Really?
Yes. And we do actually get lubricated. So we don't get quite semen like a male, it's not sperm, but we do discharge a good amount of semen.
This is fantastic. I know
Yeah.
I don't even think I would have thought to ask you that question. So I'm
Yes.
glad you mentioned that.
Yes.
Um, that is really good to know.
And we still have to do prostate check because when they do the surgery, your prostate is still there. So they do not remove a prostate gland in the surgery. So the prostate is still in the male prostate. So we get the best of both worlds. Sorry. We do get double orgasms. We could get the orgasm through the anus because that's where the male have the prostate. So as a trans female with a vagina, we still have a prostate. We don't have
Incredible.
testicles, but we have prostate. So we still have to at some point get prostate checked out. So, but yes, so we do get double orgasms.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bless you. So, accessing healthcare as a trans
Yes.
woman after the surgery when you
Yes.
come home, um, how easy or hard is that?
It's hard. It's hard just because you have to understand that the majority of people who are surgeons and doctors and specialists, this is still kind of new to them. Transgender people is still new, even if transgender people have been around since the 30s and 40s or whatever. It's still new. Those are heterosexual men doctors, heterosexual female doctors who quite don't understand our bodies.
Okay.
So when we go to them, we are most of the times approached with what might seem to us as transphobic and homophobic because I have a doctor and he has a certain last name and his name literally sounds like douchebag. So I just call him. He's a German doctor, but I just call him Doctor Douchebag. but he's an actual. He's all about. He's a tough, manly man about hockey and sports memorabilia. When you go to his office, it's all masculine, bro stuff all around. You know. So he's my doctor. So when I'm giving him, when I'm educating him, he's just like always like, tell me about it. Tell me more. But tell him he wants to learn. And it's just like, but he still sometimes would misgender me. Like that was in the past. He would
Oh,
misgender me and
interesting.
he would call me the wrong pronoun, even to the wrong name.
Oh,
So those are things that you have to consider when transitioning. If you do not change your name legally and you do not get those different things changed, you cannot expect the world to just call you female. Because there are people who will be like, well, you could dress like a girl, you could look like the most beautiful model out there, and you pass as female. But if I'm looking at your driver's license and it says Brian or Bob, I'm calling you Brian or Bob. Not out of respect, but just to push it and say, this is the government. This is what the government says. This is how the government sees you. So that's what I'm calling you because it's a government ID. So if you're calling yourself Sasha, I'm going to call you Bob because Bob is on your driver's license. Yeah, they do that.
So even as you say that, I'm hearing that as a big giant excuse to be
Yeah.
disrespectful.
Yes. Yes.
And so you're perceiving it the same way.
But yeah, and those are government workers. Those are actual government workers because my problem now still, I'm struggling with it right now. The government is still considering me as he and him and my old name. Even if it is legally changed, everything is legally changed. I've had affidavits, I've had everything, my passport, my everything says Naomi, Nadia, female. But the government decides no, because your social insurance number has not been changed. It hasn't been updated. And this is one of the hardest things you could change. So, trans girls, please pay attention. This is, if this thing is not changed, you have so much problems coming for you in the future, down the road. So much problems. And I'm going for it right now. I'm going for it right now because as a lot of people are on this not working and getting the assistance from say EI or SUB or whatever. Well, the government sent a letter saying we don't believe you are who you are. Somebody else is using your identity. So basically, the old me, my old name, the person that I've buried, is claiming that money from the government. So, Naomi Nadia, we don't know who she is. That's what the government is saying.
Which is going to raise their fraud flag.
That's right. That's right. So, a lot of us get this where we have our money just stopped. Just like, nope, you're not going to get the money until you resolve this. But it's one of the hardest things in changing your identity that you could do. The social insurance number is one of the hardest things you could change. Everything else is fine.
Why is that particular piece of ID hard to change?
I don't know if it's because it's with Revenue Canada and they so really like, oh my God, money. So I don't know if that's what it is, but it is literally hell because I'm going through it right now.
Interesting. So
Yeah.
for people who are going through this process, change your sin as soon as possible.
As soon as possible.
As soon as possible.
Yeah.
That's good.
Try and
That's good
get the
information.
application through because if you later down the road decide you're going to be the most beautiful girl with the most feminine name and your pastors behind you and you'll never see it, the government will call and ask for that old name and they will trigger PTSD. They will do that because they're not trained. They're just mean. Most of them just have a bad day and they're just going to be like,
Like,
can I speak to Brian? No, this is Trisha. And they do that a lot. They're like, they just, yeah.
yeah. So the government, it's so interesting because the government, like, thank God we have a government that will cut, like, pay for these changes.
Yeah.
But you may have government workers that are calling you by your, is it dead name? Am I saying that right?
By a what?
By someone's dead name? Is that
Yeah, I call it the dead name.
the dead name?
But I don't know how other people say it. But you could say your birth name. A lot of people say it's the birth name, but no. And a lot of transgender girls don't have a problem telling people what their birth name are, and I don't like that because you're not meeting me as this old person. You're meeting me as this new person. I'm like a phoenix. I've died and I rose from the ashes, and this is who you see now.
Yes.
But then they want to say, like, what was your name before? What did people call you before?
People ask that?
Oh, all the time. Transgender people get it all the time. It's just like people are just curious. They want to find out the dirt behind your past and like bring it up.
Interesting. Now,
Yeah.
like, so do people ask you intrusive questions?
Oh yeah, all the time. All the time.
How do you handle that?
I educate them. I just give them the education. I sometimes it offends me, but I don't show them it's offending me. Because when you show them it's offending you, guess what? They do it more. They want to push your buttons. So for
Wow.
me, I just educate them and I tell them, this is what we're going through. We could kill ourselves. Your comment could make us kill ourselves. And then they go like, oh shit, I didn't know that.
Yeah, like you think you're just being a jerk, but on the other end, there are consequences
Yes.
to being
Yes.
this disrespectful and dismissive of other people.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. For example, a girl taking out her male genitalia now to have the perfect vagina in the world, and a man telling you, "Too bad you got rid of it." It does instantly spark PTSD, and it makes you want to hate all men. It's just like all of you think the same way, but it's just that one amount. They just be like, "Give me what I want." Or okay, you have a vagina. Can you pretend you have a penis? They do say that. And just for their benefit.
The objectification
Mhm.
of women, all women, is, I think, a common theme. You know, I'll talk to girlfriends about their dating experiences, and it's like they're asking me the most inappropriate questions. Like, I
Oh
don't
yeah.
know you, and you're asking
Yeah.
me about body parts, and like, it's just, you wouldn't ask me this in person. Although it does sound like people do ask you these rude questions even in
Oh
person.
yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And you know what they love to do? They love to say things like, "Oh, it's the alcohol." So especially when you're in the clubs, in the nightclubs, people just come up to you and they ask you the most things, and they're like, "Oh, this is my perfect opportunity to be racist. Guess why? Because I have a bottle in my hand. I'm pretending that
Mm-hmm.
I'm drunk. I'm not actually drunk. I'm pretending it's the bottle's fault. That's why I'm
Mm-hmm.
asking you this." So you'll get a lot of people who are racist because of the bottle in their hand, but they'll be like, "Look, don't you see I have a bottle in my hand? That means I'm allowed to ask you uncomfortable questions because it's the alcohol speaking." People
Uh-huh.
do that a lot.
I believe it, and
Yeah.
it's I don't know about you, but I would never come up to somebody and ask them, "Oh, what's your income? What's your social insurance
Yeah.
number?
Yeah.
What's the value of your home?" Like, these are the kinds of personal questions you don't ask strangers. So I'm like, why are you asking me about body parts and things like
Yes.
that? You know,
Yes.
like,
Yes.
it's shocking to me.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, I'm here to educate them. If they have the questions to ask, I'm like, you know what? I've been through this a million times. It's just how we educate those guys. And how do we get to them? Do we start from the school level? Do we do it in like an elementary level where the children get to a certain age? Like I'm around young children most of the times because I have a godson, and he's 14, and his buddies are all his same age. And the looks that they give me, it's just that look like they're confused, and I'm like, "What are you thinking?" And so they'll say like, and they'll ask the questions, but I'm like, how do I answer this without making it seem like too weird as an adult talking to 14-year-old children, So I'm like,
Yes,
yeah, how do
an
we
age
word that?
appropriate
Yes,
explanation.
yes. So we have to dumb it down for them, and you should see it's funny because we're dumbing it down for these kids, and all of a sudden they're like, "I know more," because they are exposed to the internet. They know everything. So you saying, "Oh my gosh, let me protect you, you a child," all of a sudden they're like more adult than you could imagine.
No way.
So yes.
That's so interesting. Or do
Yeah.
you find that that age group, once you explain something, it's like, oh, okay, like they get it. Like there's not as many
They,
negative responses as adults, maybe.
it does register in the head, but the majority of those kids are just the attention span is so short. But for me, because I've had this, my godson has grown up with me and seen my transition from beginning to where I am now, and he's so used to it. So he educates his friends about it, and the friends tell their friends about it. So it spreads. I'm like, good, I love this. This is good.
Fantastic.
So it's good when you could get one little group and explain, and they explain to their friends that my godmother is transgender. And then the children in school were like, "I want a transgender godmother too,"
That's
So it
awesome.
sounds like a cool thing to have. Yeah, it's kind of like them playing Pokemon and they have to catch cards or something. You're like, yeah, I know. Yes. So
So I
yeah,
have I have two more questions for you.
yes,
Um, what is it like to be misgendered um,
yeah.
for
Um,
you?
for me, to be honest, when I am misgendered, I'm not as upset because I know when I look in the mirror, I could see that I have a vagina. As long as I have the vagina, I'm good. I'm golden. But prior to having a vagina, if I was misgendered, I would have a lot of bad thoughts coming to my head. I'm like, I just want this time to end, you know? But having the body and feeling the body and seeing the body makes you be like, I'm a girl.
Yeah.
I am a girl. Like, some guys like, you're a dude. I'm like, yeah, I'm a girl.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
have that. Yes, yes, yes. So it makes you feel, you have. It's all about confidence. You have to have a lot of confidence. I have a lot of confidence, enough to sell, enough to give for free. I have so much confidence.
That's
I'm
awesome.
right with it.
I love that. I would imagine that comes with age too,
It
the
does. Yeah.
wisdom, you know.
Yes. Yes.
So that
Yes.
that's one of the benefits.
Oh yes.
Um, that's wonderful. My final question. Um, the new I'm on the board of Pride.
Mhm.
We're a new board,
Yes.
and our theme, our goal is inclusivity.
Yes.
What can we do um, to advocate for, give a voice to, give a platform to the trans community? What would you like to see us do? What have you heard from other trans folk that you know about what they would like us to do?
Yes. So the majority of us, what we really, really want is more people to be aware of us. So not talking about the LGBTQ community. We do not want lesbian, gay, bisexual people to know about us or educate them about us. We want the heterosexual community. We need allies as much as possible. We need to have a lot of allies because for the longest while, I have been in this community where we have been a closed community and push everybody else out. It's now time for us to flood it, make all of those allies, the straight heterosexual people who most of us are always offended by and quick calling them, oh, you cis man, or you cis this, or you cis. We need to stop doing that and we need to start educating them and bring them in so that they could understand us. Because that little community we have, it's not helping us. It's not for us. The LGBTQ community is not for each other. It is,
For the broader
yes,
straight
yes,
community. Okay,
yes, yes.
okay.
So
So as a Pride board, um,
we need allyship.
allyship, giving a
Yes,
platform,
yes,
communicating with the public,
yes.
um, and so stuff like this, these sorts of interviews,
Oh, yes.
hugely help.
Oh, yes.
Okay,
Oh,
that is
yes. That
fantastic.
will actually stop the wall because we have this wall in our community that keeps pushing people away from us. When we get upset, clearly, of course, we could get angry and say, oh, this is just a cisgender man not understanding us. But they are the majority, unfortunately. They are the majority.
They are,
And we
yeah.
need the majority on our side and so that they could understand us. But if we keep burning those bridges and pissing them off all the time, we will look like a sad group that's just doing nothing. So that's what we need. We need a lot of love. We need a lot of education. We need, especially in the schools, school curriculum, educational curriculum, the school boards and all that kind of stuff. They have to get on board. And like right now, the only person I know in the community who's actually touching so many heterosexual children, young children, touching the minds, reaching out to them, is my good, great friend, Saidet. And Saidet identifies as lesbian, and she has that power to
Wow.
influence all of those thousands of children. And so, if we could get more people like Saidet to be trusted among children, trusted among school boards and like education. It's all about education because right now education is very fragile. If somebody who's transgender wants to go into a school and talk, liability 100% comes up in those people's minds. Like, who are you? Have you raped a child before? Have you done this to a child? Like, you're scary. We don't want you people around our children. That is a big, big issue. So
So they're associating it with pedophilia.
that is correct.
It's a
That is
whole
correct.
different thing.
That is correct. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Just
And so that is we need to get them to trust us. Kind of, because a lot of them are just like very hyper, like you are what? You are what? And it's because of the industry, how the industry portrays us. That is what they see us as. So they protect the babies with all they might. So if
they're
we're trying to
hyper
get
alert.
through, yeah, if we're trying to get through the, not to get through the babies and change their minds or anything, but we just want them to grow up not being the biggest douchebags. You kind of just bash a transgender person or beat up a straight person, a gay person on the road, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
So we're trying to tell them, hey, maybe if we could talk to you while you're at this age, things will not be as bad as in the future.
You'll know we're people, just like you.
Yes, yes,
Really.
yes.
That is fantastic. Naima, thank you so, so much. I
You're
really,
welcome.
really appreciate you taking the time. I have learned so much today, and I
Good.
think the people watching this are going to appreciate how honest you've been. And I thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you. I'm a walking encyclopedia. Anything you
I love it. Well, enjoy the rest of your day, and I'm sure we
say.
will chat again.
Perfect.